and welcome to Your Worth Your Way, the podcast that's all about helping you understand that you are worthy of prioritizing your joy without feeling selfish or guilty. I'm Debbie Lucas, the Joy Alchemist, and each week I'll be bringing you honest, heartfelt conversations with incredible guests, coaches, thought leaders, and soulful humans who share their stories and insights on self-worth, confidence, personal growth, and how to create a life that feels authentically yours. This isn't about quick fixes or cookie cutter advice. It's about real talk, practical takeaways, and plenty of soulful inspiration to help you live life your way. So grab your favorite cuppa, get comfy, and let's dive into today's episode. Today, I am joined by the amazing Donna Blainey, a psychic coach, energy and body worker who helps purpose-led women in the holistic space to trust their gifts, deepen their intuition, and create soul-aligned success. And we'll be diving into how you can use intuition to create your life and find your next steps, how to overcome imposter syndrome, and how to use embodiment as a manifestation tool. Welcome, Donna. It's lovely to have you today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get into the conversation.
So I actually came to learn of Donna. I think it was on TikTok, and then I followed you on Instagram and just loved your work and what you were doing, and came for a beautiful session, a Reiki session with you, which I thoroughly recommend and so enjoyed. So I know a lot about what you do, but please tell my guests and my audience and my listeners a little bit about yourself and what led to the work that you're doing right now.
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I started my business and it was actually called Acacia Healing. I rebranded about a year later because, as we know, when we start these things, it grows arms and legs, you go down different routes. And who I was when I started this business and who I am now are two very different people. Same person at the core, but two very different people. And it all started because I went through a dark night of the soul. If anyone's had that before, it's like the worst time ever in your life, and I was really down, depressed. I am not that type of person naturally. I'm quite an upbeat, high energy person. So I knew something was really wrong. And I was drinking a lot, really unhealthy habits. I was working in a sales job and then in retail management. And I just felt something was really out of alignment in my life. And I started diving into spiritual practices, but what I didn't realize was that combined with my lifestyle led me into this dark night of the soul, which now I know happened for a reason because I woke up 2 years ago and decided, right, that is it. I'm changing my life. I stopped drinking, haven't touched any alcohol since then. I booked a few different courses for myself, NLP therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, similar to kind of like CBT mindset stuff, and coaching, a life coaching diploma. So I just did those for myself, and used them in my life, and then started my social media and just thought, I'm just going to go for this. And now, 2 years later, I have a wellness studio on Hope Street in Glasgow City Centre called the Soulwork Studio, where we do events, retreats, yoga, Pilates, all different types of things, wellness events. And I have a room in the back where I do my Reiki, cupping, and my psychic intuitive readings. So that's where I'm at now, and that's where I started. But yeah, so that's who I am. I also help women develop their psychic gifts and intuition. I have a program called Advance Your Intuition, for women who are interested in holistic therapies or have their own businesses, and they want to use their gifts in their life and their business with purpose.
I love that. And like I've been to your studio, to the Soulwork studio in Glasgow. So if any of my listeners are local, I know we have some from across the world, across the globe. But if you are in Glasgow, definitely go and check it out. It's such a beautiful space. And like the room where you do your one-to-one sessions is just amazing. And like I've had so many shifts when I was in with you. And like, obviously you spoke about like, 2 years ago think, you kind of had this massive shift. And, sometimes for somebody, who goes through a spiritual kind of journey or awakening, there is sometimes like almost like a moment in time where they kind of realize like that I don't want this anymore, and they make a complete shift. I think for me it was actually the opposite. It was a very subtle progression for me. Like I wanted to move out of employment, so I did the life coaching NLP certification as well. A lot of people seem to start that way, but that was really kind of what started awakening me, and like opening my eyes to there's a different way of the world, different way of living, a different way of understanding the world, and like the power of the mind, and more laterally what I've learned is the power of the body. And I'd like to come on to that because I know you kind of have a mixture of that. But um what did that transition look like for you from how you grew up into, your adulthood, into then what you are doing now? Kind of what were the things that were going on for you?
Yes. So when I was born in 1999, so I guess that would be the starting point. And then in 2007, I was 8 years old. My mum took me to church for the first time. And my mum took me to church because, perhaps she was seeking for something as well, something deeper. And yeah, obviously just felt drawn to go there. So we all went to church. So I was introduced to sort of, it's not like orthodox, super strict, but it was, still that religious background. It's Protestant church, Baptist church, so not Catholic church. So it was a wee bit different. We had like music, singing, dancing, and prophetic gifts. So people would be able to do things like deliver spiritual messages from God, or do prophetic drawing. I actually have one from when I was really young. A woman drew an image for my future. Um,
Wow.
so, I was introduced to that quite young. And but I would say for me personally, I was also introduced to a lot of fear around
Mm.
spirituality, because, anything that's not of the church or not of the Bible is dark in their eyes. So, and that's what they believe. So I met loads of amazing people there, and I had loads of really amazing experiences growing up. I used to go to different what do you call them, like a festival but for Christians. And then in 2013, I was 14 years old, and I had a dream about my mum who was in Glasgow at the time of a really big accident when the helicopter
Oh
crashed
yes.
into the pub. And I was in my bed in Oban sleeping. And I think around the same time or a couple hours before, I had a dream that a plane crashed into my mum and my dog, but like right next to them. So it didn't hit them. Nothing happened to them in the dream. But then when I woke up, my dad had told me that my mum was there when the helicopter crashed into the cliffer. So I always remembered that, and then I thought that's quite strange, well, I thought it was strange
Yeah,
anyway at the time,
yeah.
and it was really profound for me. So obviously I was still young, I was only 14, but a few other things happened. I felt like I would know things, I would definitely sense things um, of people that maybe like I hadn't known about or I hadn't been told about. And then in 2018, I kind of went through a phase when I was younger of drinking a lot, partying. I just kind of forgot about all of that. And then I chose to actually get baptized in the church when I was 18, so or 17, around that age. Can't remember the exact date right now, but got baptized in the church and then moved to Glasgow for university. So that again was just like put to the side. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was going out every night, having the time of my life. And I did actually have such good times and really good memories. But that lifestyle is not a sustainable lifestyle. And, we see how that pans out for people over a long, long period of time. So yeah, so I finished my degree. I did a degree in design, and then I went into a sales job, luxury sales job, loved this job. but I was drinking a lot. There was a lot of socializing after work and with clients and things like that. And that's when in 2023, I had that dark night of the soul. I was doing some spiritual practices. Think I'd been for one Reiki session at that point, been to different yoga classes and types of yoga. And that's something I've really realized along the way, is that my beliefs personally is that there is darkness in this world, right? There's dark and there's light. As we know, one of the laws of the universe is the law of polarity. So you can't have light without dark. The roots of a tree grow down and they grow up. The tip of the iceberg, the bottom of the iceberg. You have the ocean and the universe, the sky. So there is two of everything, and there's polarities of everything. And what I've realized is that, some of those practices for me at that time, when I was drinking heavily and going out, because I also didn't realize that you open yourself up to a lot of darkness when you're taking substances of any kind, especially in places like nightclubs or parties with people that you don't really know, and you don't know what their intentions are as well with you. And then I just slowly got worse, more like down, heaviness, that really dense energy, to the point where I just thought, yeah, something's not right now. And luckily, I have my partner who's also a very spiritual person, and he's amazing. And he was really noticing the change in me. And my mum, who's still a Christian and part of the church, she also was noticing some stuff. So I had them pray for me, and that's really when things started to shift, and I got out of that pattern of drinking. But I was still working. I still, if I was to speak to you in my everyday life, you would think I was fine, but when there's something not right inside. So yeah, that's where it was. And then I started my business. So and growing up, my family was one of these, like, I like to think similar to like the Osbournes in a really weird like there's always something going on, but my mum and dad are very much in love and they're still together. And I think, I really am so grateful for them and my family. No family's perfect though. Um,
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm so grateful your mum's okay. For those who don't know, back in 2014 there was a really dreadful helicopter that just literally dropped out of the sky into a barn, and many people sadly lost their lives and suffered life-changing injuries. So I'm really glad your mum is okay with that. But I think what you were talking about there really kind of touched on some things that I believe as well, that I've been thinking a lot about it. Does for a long time, sorry, gather my thoughts, for a long time I lived my life as an either or. I couldn't be this and that. I had to be this or that. And more recently I've really started kind of embracing that I can be both, and I can have both. And actually I put a post out last week just about that very topic. And I think your journey is, it really shows that how you can have grown up in a Christian faith or any kind of religious faith, whatever you grew up in, and still be spiritual. It doesn't have to be either or. And I love how you've beautifully kind of integrated that into your life and what you do now. And something else that's really kind of been coming through for me in the last while is, that bit around healing and spiritual awakening and a spiritual journey isn't just the love and light and the beauty and having this beautiful flowing life. It's actually about being able to integrate both the good and the darker side, the good emotions, the positive emotions, and the anger and the rage and the frustration and the sadness and the grief. It's about feeling strong enough and being strong enough to be able to hold all of that, because I always believe that every emotion has served a purpose in your life. Anger is there to protect you when your boundaries are being overstepped. Guilt is there when you're not you're not in alignment with your values, and that you're not behaving in alignment with your values. And I know, like, your social handle and how I got to know you is the energy artist. And something that you mentioned earlier as well is, like, you've got your emotions, but you obviously, your body is a physical being, and your body as this, I can't remember who said this or wrote it. Was it Louise Hay? Your body keeps score. I can't remember
Oh
who said.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bethel van der Kolk or something like that.
yeah, however it was. But like, and emotions are energy in motion, and if you don't allow them the light, if you don't allow them to come up and to kind of be seen and to integrate them, they become stuck, and that's where your body starts becoming unwell. You have aches and pains, and the disease comes in. So I'd love to hear more about kind of your views on that and how you help people to kind of move through that, because I know Reiki is obviously and yoga as well is kind of great ways to kind of keep the chi and the energy moving through you.
Yes. Yeah, so I definitely I believe we're like little balls of energy, that are in this physical human body. And I something that I do, to keep myself balanced is I dance a lot, I move my body, I love doing handstands. That's also something I used to do when I was a child that brought me a lot of joy, was like on the trampoline, jumping around in that imagination, just letting my imagination run wild. And I think we forget about that when we're older. And we forget how to tap into that. And it's so, so, so important because your imagination is so powerful. So, yeah, I think we're just little balls of energy floating around this earth, trying our best here and while we're here in human form. But I personally believe that, yeah, if you don't allow those emotions to come up in a safe way, and then they will manifest as it's either something in your physical reality, so you'll meet people that trigger you, or you will create some kind of like physical thing. So like people that suffer with like headaches, or sometimes it's not always just about the stuff that we're putting in. It's like about our mind as well,
Yeah.
and what we're thinking and what we're feeling. So yeah, completely agree with you on that. And someone that the first person I ever kind of was introduced to when I started my business was Bob Proctor was the first one. Then it was Dr. Joe Dispenza. Everyone knows him though. He's super famous doctor. And they talk loads about that. Brian Scott as well, and Neville Goddard. That Think and Grow Rich was a book that I read so many times. And they all incorporate like the universal laws and the human and the quantum field and manifestation. So yeah, I believe all of that is real. But I also believe that, so although I don't practice like in a religious sense now, I still believe in God. I believe that we come from like a higher power or a source. Um, so if you think about that, like the sun, right, or a big ball of energy, right, and like we're just little droplets that come off from that. So we each have that inside of us, but we are a unique expression of that out on earth. So that is what I believe. So although I believe that you need to take that aligned action and get clear on what you want, and you keep your thoughts in alignment with your beliefs and your values, your actions as well. I think prayer, surrender, trust, and letting go of that manifestation or the thing that you want, because you have to be okay with not getting that as well. And
And trusting. Yeah.
yeah, you have to be okay with, right, okay, this is what I want, and this is the steps I'm going to take, but I need to let it go. Otherwise, I'm coming from the energy of desperation, and that is not going to give you the outcome that you want. You want to come from the energy of flow, from trust, from surrender, because also where our thoughts end, God's begins. Like, have you ever seen those images where it's like, you have a wee bunch of flowers. It's like your plans, and then God's plans is like a whole
Yeah.
thing of flowers here.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the you need to be able to create the vision because you're a co-creator. You, especially women, I mean, we actually produce other human beings, So that in itself, I don't have children, but that the thought of that is just amazing to me. And that we can do that. So yeah, we're co-creators. So you need to get up and move and do something and get clear. But you also need to realize that there could be other things waiting for you, but you need to ask, whether you believe in God or a higher power or higher self, whatever works for you, ask that to work miracles in your life for your highest good and the good of all, because I think that's where you'll see big results.
Absolutely. And gosh, so much of what you said there to come back on. But I think, like, I mean, as I say to all my guests to come on this podcast, we're all working in the same world. We're all working with the same universal laws and concepts. And there's that, I don't know if it's a saying or whatever, but, the religion has prayer, spirituality has manifestation, and science has quantum physics. We're all saying the same thing, but in our own ways. And obviously, if one kind of aligns and resonates with you better, then go for it. I'm not going to criticize one or the other. And I think the bit around co-creation is so important. And like as part of my spiritual journey, I've done a lot of womb work and really honoring my womb and my femininity, and that as a kind of sacred portal for creation, and how you can use that, and also connecting with through my womb, with my ancestors. And of course, I remember sitting in a yurt in a space in Loch Winnoch, actually. I don't know if you've ever been. And like just feeling the rage and the anger from the women who came before me coming through, and like, but knowing that I'm here to break those cycles and break those patterns. And so it's co-creation moving forward, but it's also the healing that comes from before. And I think when you said there about, like manifestation or whatever you want to call it, and it's not going to come through unless you take action and unless you surrender. And I want to touch on those 2 points because, for me, it's not, when I first read The Secret, that was kind of, I read that a while ago before I even started on this journey, but it didn't quite land with me at that point. But I remember the takeaway for me was I can just sit back and, a check's going to pop through the letterbox, or somebody's going to come over and hand me money. And I didn't quite grasp the concept. And then it leads me into surrender. And I had this kind of download a few weeks ago, is that surrender is not a passive act. Surrender is about, as you say, letting go of what the outcome is going to be, but still taking that aligned action. And I remember when I resigned from my day job at the start of this year, 2025, for probably about a good 6 to 8 weeks, I kind of just said, oh, I'm sitting in the space of surrender and flow, and I wasn't really doing much. And then suddenly I was like, no, if I'm actually going to be serious about running my own business and generating an income for myself, I need to take the aligned action. I need to be showing up. I need to be putting offers out there. I need to be showing people how I can help them. And that's kind of for me where the co-creation then started really coming in, because I was, I started the podcast. I was having interviews with people. I was having conversations. I had kind of clients here and there, and I was taking what I'd learned from them and really kind of then developing that into something that, are now part of my suite of offers. And I think lost my train of thought there. Yeah, there's another saying, and I'd love to hear your take on this. When you have an idea or you feel called to create something, it's because there's somebody else out there who is needing or wanting that. And that is something that's really stuck with me, because when I have an idea now and I kind of think, oh, it's going to be too much effort or nobody's going to want it, and I'm trusting myself, and like I've had this nudge from the universe, something's tapped me on the shoulder because there's somebody else out there who wants or needs what I'm going to be creating. And so that's kind of kept me motivated to, to create new things. And I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yes. So I think, yeah, that definitely, but also for me is you wouldn't have been given the idea if you couldn't do it. Because, okay, whether you believe, I believe that that comes as a download, and I believe those downloads come from spirit, God, source, and and also, but if you believe in that or not, right? So you could say, okay, well, maybe it comes from the subconscious or the higher self, because again, we have everything we need within us from our subconscious is literally a supercomputer. So you don't realize how much information that your subconscious mind is taking in, even when you're sleeping. And that's also why it's important, side note, to watch what's on the TV when you fall asleep, in case there's stuff you're listening to that's going into your subconscious. But yeah, so either, you know, it's come from your subconscious at the right time. So if it was in your subconscious, you have everything you need within there to complete that thing or do that thing or even start it. And you will be supported by your spirit team. So yeah, I think the other thing though, the human thing that I think keeps people stuck is that, right, let's say you had an idea for a program, okay? Most people won't take action because they're thinking about the end goal and how they're going to get there. So the end goal is overwhelming, and you will not have everything you need for that end goal at the start. You will only get the things you need for the end goal once you start.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you, yeah, so I think that's the human part that keeps people stuck is, well, how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? It doesn't matter. What's the first step that you can do right now? That could be knocking on someone's door, giving someone a call, you know, finding someone that's done it already and tracing their steps from the end back to the start, you know, and just looking at all these different things. But I think people get the downloads. Everyone gets a download, but it's the human part that it's that, you know, limiting beliefs that keep us from taking the action because they think, well, you know, how am I going to achieve that? Well, you're not going to achieve that end goal in the first week, so there's no point in even thinking about that. You know, that could be the minute you start putting timings on it, it gets further and further and further away though as well. So it's better just to take the steps you can now, and that's where the aligned action comes in. And a step could even just be repeating to yourself over and over and over that you have the blueprint for that thing. Because when I wanted to make my program, I thought, right, well, I was almost about to pay £5,000 to do this women's course on how to make a program. I was about to hit purchase, and I thought, what on earth am I doing? My subconscious has everything I need. I don't need to pay for this. Like, I have it already within me. So for a whole week, I repeated to myself, I have the blueprint, I have the blueprint, I have the blueprint. And lo and behold, within that week, that program was made. And it wasn't perfect. So I'm now running it through for the fourth time, and I'm still editing bits, adding bits in, you know, changing the layout, because obviously for people that I've had a couple of people that struggled to read the colors on the background. So like everything, but you need to just start. Just start. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've really touched on a crucial point that I've actually started, again, it's been something that's kind of been floating around in my awareness for a while, and then I've kind of been sitting with it and how I kind of put that out there. But I remember when I started on this journey, and I know so many people and friends and clients who started on this journey, is that we kind of still, we talk a lot in the spiritual world about internal validation versus external validation, but we go and seek the answers from other people. We go and seek the guidance from other people. And, you know, like, I mean, I can't remember, I don't know, thousands and thousands I've spent on tarot readings, Reiki sessions, and astrology readings, and they're all great. And I know I came to you as well, but sometimes, like when we're in that, like when we're coaches ourselves, particularly, you can only take yourself so deep because your subconscious will kind of block you because it wants to keep you safe. So it's not going to let you feel things that are kind of big and scary and deeper because it wants to keep the status quo. So I absolutely believe that there's a place for, you know, working with other people to help you go deeper. But so many of the answers are already within us, you know, and that's, as I'm shifting how I'm working, for me it is about helping people to tap into that inner knowing and that intuition that you spoke about before, and really trusting that and learning to trust themselves, because we're so busy kind of having other people tell us what we should be doing, and because we've grown up in that world of, you know, the shoulds and the expectations and the labels and responsibilities that people place on us, or that we assume from other people. You know, we can then get stuck into kind of leaning too much into that and not really kind of trusting ourselves. So for me, it's always about just bringing my clients back into their center and back into themselves, because I know that's when things really shifted for me.
Mhm.
So you spoke there about that kind of aligned action and trusting in yourself, but what would you say to someone who kind of feels like they're ready to kind of step into that self-trust, I guess, and create or go for whatever their dreams and desires are, but still doubts their next step?
So yeah, so they've got the idea they need to just take that next step. I would say then go back to the basics of okay, what belief is keeping me from moving forward, right? That's the first thing for me. Like what am I scared of? Am I scared of being seen? Am I scared that I'll fail? Am I scared of the judgment of others? You know, all these different things. Or that I don't think I'm worthy enough to, or some people are actually they're scared of success because they don't know how they're going to hold that success. So they know they can be really successful, but they actually don't let themselves be successful because money or the abundance that might come with this success or the responsibility, they don't think that they can handle that. So find out what the block is first of all, and then go back to like um well, I am a big believer in EFT tapping
Mm,
because Tap with Brad was one of the first people that I used on YouTube, free resource, to really help me with my money blocks, money beliefs. And when I started doing that, things really started to shift. And also you said, okay, and you don't just sit back and, you know, this comes into your lap. But sometimes that does happen, right? Sometimes it does, but you can't rely on that fully all the time. So it's yeah, so when I started working with that EFT tapping, I noticed that I was getting those little miracles, you know, coming through. And then I was also getting into alignment with what I wanted. And I'm now in a place, I don't share about my finances a lot, but I'm now in a place where I feel, you know, I've had probably the most money that I've made myself from my own, you know, my own business.
yeah.
And I actually feel really safe receiving more, but I
Mm,
didn't feel that before. It felt really chaotic.
yeah.
So I would say go back to the basics and go back to the basics, find out what the belief is that's stopping you from taking that next step. Just don't let it stop you. Because if you like, so you're going to feel every time you go up a new level, right? Every time you go up a higher pay rise or a higher income or a bigger audience or you know, anything at all that's more than what you've done before, you are going to sorry, I don't know if I can swear on here, but
Yes, you can, yeah.
you're going to shit yourself, right? You're going to be absolutely terrified. And you're going to have all these limiting beliefs come up because they're there to keep you safe. Anything outside of your comfort zone is not safe to your nervous system and to your, well, your ego, your nervous system, and your subconscious mind. So you will have to accept that, right? So I now look at every single time I feel that freeze, that fear, or oh no, like what am I doing here? I take that as a really good sign that I'm growing rather than going
Mm,
backwards. So it's all about perception of this as well. So don't let the feeling that you can't take that step stop you from taking the step. Say, okay, I can't take that step. Let's find out why and get to the root cause of it. And I would say, as soon as you actually even understand why, it becomes a whole lot easier. So I'll give you an example for me. Stepping out as saying the word, okay, I'm a psychic. I would say I'm a psychic coach because I don't just read cards. I don't just, you know, give you the information. I also help you move forward with that, and I provide a lot of ongoing support for my clients as well. So yeah, saying I'm a psychic coach, that absolutely terrified me. It terrified me because of um, the beliefs around not being taken seriously. It terrified me because of my, you know, Christian upbringing. I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want my family to be ashamed of me, which they're not. They're very, very supportive of me. But, you know, at the time, I
yeah,
felt
yeah.
that was really real for me. And yeah, and then I went to see one of my mentors, Heal You, amazing lady. She's fantastic at what she does. I went for a bodywork and cacao coaching session. And during that session, me and her both had the realization that in a past life, my family were seers. So the town that we lived in, we something bad happened and my family got the blame for, like, say someone dying or something really bad happening, and so that from then on we never used our gifts, and to us, like, using our gifts and being authentic equaled death. So I've carried that with me because I was thinking, why can't I just be myself? Like, what is stopping me from being myself? And I'm someone who loves, like, folklore and storytelling, but I also love business and the city life and modern, like, cool, like, stuff. So it's like, how can I blend that together? Because that is me, you know. I'm also very creative. I love color. Typical, my room is bright green with orange lights. You know, it's not like it's very
Yeah, well, serene.
ambient, but it's not your typical, like, room of a holistic practitioner. So I think it was really hard for me to, before I came to that realization, when I found out why I was acting like that, actually I was able to take that next step. So I didn't even have to do anything. Just understanding why helped me move forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things that I truly believe in, that I am now, embodying in my daily life, is that, joy is the frequency. It's not the result. It's not the kind of reward at the end of it. And, I know I did say, it's not about sitting back and checks just dropping through the letterbox, but there's a check that literally dropped last week. I mean, it's £15, but it's not about the amount of money, right?
Yeah,
An account that I changed over accounts, and the money, I didn't even know there was money left in it, and they owed me,
yeah,
this plus interest, and I, got it through. I was like, oh, that's literally money that's dropped through. But because I've been sitting in that frequency of joy, and because I've been taking the aligned action of creating joy in my life, and that bit that you said about feeling safe to receive is a lot of what I've been working on. And it was round about the time I was doing that work of regulating my nervous system, of feeling safe to have money flowing in. I'd worked so much on feeling comfortable money flowing out, and I call it circulating money now. And an affirmation I've had for years is the abundance of the universe flows through me. Whenever I'm circulating money, I don't even say spending or paying money now. I circulate money, and I circulate wealth and abundance. And there you go. The check literally did just drop through. But there's other things that I'm doing to take aligned action, because money can come from all sources. It doesn't have to
exactly.
be from one particular thing.
Yes.
So, kind of wrapping up the conversation then, on that topic of joy, what's one way that you intentionally create joy in your everyday life, and what would you say to somebody who's struggling to do that for themselves?
Yeah. So for me, it was, well, obviously, it was really hard for me to create joy actually after I stopped drinking, because I didn't realize how much of my joy, it wasn't
Mhm.
joy, right? It wasn't real joy, but how much of that came from that environment. So actually, for a long time, I did not know how to recreate that feel, or how to activate that feeling within myself. So I just started trying all different things, and something that I found really brought me joy again was the dancing, music, spending time with people who really make me laugh and that I don't feel like I need to mask. Like my business partner, Freya, she makes me laugh like so much, and I can just be my 100% self around her. My partner, spending time with him. And for me, I just always go back to my handstands. So I've just found one thing, and I remember I was doing handstands in the studio once, and Freya was like, "I have never seen you smiling so much." So I don't know if it's like the rush of blood to the head,
Ah, uh-huh.
but yeah, I think find something. It can be one small thing that, if you're having a bad day, which we do, right? We're human, we're going to feel everything. But you just have that one thing, that when you do it, you have a good time. And yeah, for me, that would be, I love listening to scary stories as well. That's one thing I love to do, but that's not all, it does freak me out sometimes. But scary story time podcast, love that. and handstands. That's my two things that bring me joy, and being with my nephews as well. I've got 4 wee nephews. So yeah, just find one thing that takes you out of that cuts off the thought process. I think that's what it is.
Uh-huh.
The handstands for me, when you're upside down, you're trying to balance on your hands. You cannot think of anything else. I mean, you can't. You're thinking
Yeah.
not falling flat on your face. So, so for me, it cuts off the thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all of us can do handstands, but if you can,
Yeah.
but but when you were talking about that though, it's like, as I could feel fear rising in me at the thought of even attempting a handstand.
Yeah.
So you kind of almost prompted me now to kind of like face that fear and actually, I know it'll take time, and you need to kind of train your body and your muscle to
Yeah.
be able to kind of get up and then stay up.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it is something, that if you find the one thing that creates joy, and like a handstand, well, you could do it for 30 seconds, you could do it for 5-10 minutes, whatever you feel, but it's something that just kind of like breaks your state and
Yeah.
changes it, because I do that a lot with clients, if you're sitting like with your shoulders slumped and your head down, you go, I am awesome. You don't
Yeah.
really feel very awesome, do you? But if you put
No.
your hands up and you go, oh, I'm awesome, you feel awesome.
Yeah.
I can feel that. I can feel the goosebumps, and everything like that. So changing state, breaking state, just doing
Yeah.
something different to kind of shift you out of that thought process and getting back into your body. As you say, like when you're in the handstand, you physically, all you're thinking about is my body and how I'm staying up and how I can stay upright without falling over. So that's a really helpful
Yeah.
tip.
I also want to remind people that nothing in life is permanent, right? So if you want to make a big decision to go out on your own and start your own business, or you're going through the worst time of your life, just know that whatever you're experiencing or whatever you're going through is temporary, and you always have the ability to change your reality. So just do the thing, whatever it is that you want to do, because like I say, you can't make a wrong decision. It's all part of your purpose and your path. Mhm.
100%. Thank you for sharing your story and your insights, Donna. It's been a wonderful conversation. And one thing that I really loved about what you've kind of woven throughout what you've shared with us today is how you've embodied the both and that I spoke about, that you don't have to have an either or. And it kind of ties into what you just said at the end there, that, you can take a leap of faith, but still stay grounded. You don't have to kind of just like jump and still float in the air, not knowing what's going to happen. There's still a lot of grounding that you can do. So I'm sure that my listeners will want to find out more about you and what you do. So tell us, where's the best place that they can find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at the Energy Artist. I have a link, or at the Soulwork Studio as well. So there's 2 pages. We do our spiritual circle every month there, and we're starting taster workshops on how to start tapping into your gifts. And I do one-to-one sessions, and for any holistic practitioners watching this, my program is starting again on the 19th of August. And it runs for 4 weeks online on Zoom, and I have people from all over the world join it. So if you want to find out more about that, I can send you the information pack via Instagram, because that's where I am mostly.
Brilliant. So I was actually just going to ask, so I know you've got your physical studio space, but do you offer other kind of coaching and online sessions as well for people?
Everything's online as well, except for the cupping, obviously.
Yes.
You would
Yeah.
need in
Okay.
person. But Reiki, readings, psychic coaching, and my program are all online as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Good stuff. And I'll add all the links to that in the show notes as well. So it's been an absolute honor to speak with you again.
Thank
And
you
I'm
for
sure that my
having me.
listeners will have enjoyed this podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really lovely to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Your Worth, Your Way. I know that you'll be walking away feeling inspired and ready to embrace your worth and prioritize your joy. If you love this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review or share it with someone who needs a little bit of encouragement today. And don't forget to hit that follow button so that you never miss another episode. And you can connect with me, find out more about the podcast, my guests, and what I do at debbielucas.me/links. And if you don't already, follow me on your favorite social media platform. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation there. And until next time, remember that you are worthy exactly as you are.